Welcome back to Nature News, where we bring you the latest stories from our wild places, our national parks, and our natural world. It's August 2025, and this month, the outdoors is full of headlines. Some inspiring, some sobering, and all important for anyone who cares about nature. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine-chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forest to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hello, everyone. I cannot believe that tomorrow is officially September 1st. That is absolutely wild. And when you're listening to this, I will be at Great Basin National Park doing the Lehman Cave tour. So I don't know, if you're there, say hi. If you know what I look like. I don't have pink hair anymore, so there's that. But yeah, I cannot believe it is September. It is so wild that it's already September. So I hope you're having a great long weekend, enjoying resting or getting outdoors. Let's get into this month's nature news. So our first article is from out of Colorado at 11 Mile State Park. And I saw so many news articles like this summer in many different states: Arkansas, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, because the summer months, everyone's out on the water, and one of the most important things is wearing a life jacket. And so I'm going to summarize a case that happened in Colorado, and this is just a cautionary tale. Now, on a sunny afternoon at 11 Mile Reservoir in Park County, Colorado, a group of paddleboarders set off across the water. Suddenly, like out of nowhere, strong gusts of wind rocked their boards. Two paddlers made it safely to shore, and one was rescued because they had a life jacket and they were tethered to their board. But the third paddleboarder wasn't so lucky. He didn't have flotation gear or a leash on his foot to tie him to his board. Now, there was an 11-hour search, and the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, local fire crews, and the sheriff's deputies, they combed the water by land and air. And late that night, rescuers tragically recovered both his body and that of the dog accompanying him. The Park County coroner is handling identification, and the Colorado Parks and Wildlife emphasized how crucial life jackets are, especially on bodies of water like 11 Mile, where weather can shift without warning. So it is so tragic when someone dies in a water-related accident, because typically those can be prevented by having the necessary gear like life jackets and tethers. It is also equally sad that his dog died, because a lot of people go out with their dogs, and I just think that speaks to how windy it was and how fast it turned, because dogs are usually better swimmers than people, and his dog didn't make it either. So as a reminder, your dogs can wear a life jacket as well. Now, as heartbreaking as this story is, it serves as a powerful reminder that nature can change in an instant. 11 Mile Reservoir is known for its sudden wind gusts, and even experienced paddleboarders can be caught off guard. In this case, the lack of a life jacket and board leash turned a survivable accident into a fatal one. Whenever you head out into the water or even into the backcountry, preparation can make the difference between life and death. Always check the weather, wear your safety gear, and don't underestimate the risks. Even what feels like on a calm day. The outdoors are beautiful, but it demands respect. So let's honor this paddleboarder's memory by making smart choices when we adventure, because safety doesn't take away from the experience. It ensures we can come back to enjoy it again tomorrow. Now let's head over to Carlsbad Cavern National Park. So, park officials at this national park, which opened to the public in 1923, they say they've continued to uncover historic trash deep within the cave system. Items discarded long ago are still being found scattered across the cave floor and formations, sometimes hidden behind stalagmites and columns. This persistent litter from early visitors and park visitors alike serves as a reminder that even remote or forgotten waste can linger for decades, slowly impacting the delicate cave ecosystem. This adds to the recent concerns over how even small traces of litter, like a dropped snack bag, can disrupt cave ecosystems by introducing foreign microbes and triggering mold growth. Rangers often spend 20 minutes or more cleaning up just a single piece of trash to protect these fragile environments. Cavern officials say even though they find more and more modern-day trash, sometimes they stumble across historic trash, like a Coca-Cola bottle that made it to the top of a rock far off of the main corridor trail. Officials say the shape of this bottle is called a hobble skirt, which Coca-Cola started using in the year 1915. The bottle has the word Carlsbad embossed on the bottom of the bottle, meaning this bottle was fabricated near the cave. Now, stories like this remind us that nature keeps a record of our choices. A candy wrapper, a soda can, or even a bag of chips can linger around for decades, long after the people who left them are gone. In delicate environments like Carlsbad Caverns, even something small can disrupt fragile ecosystems that have taken thousands of years to form. So whether you're exploring a cave, hiking a trail, or camping under the stars, remember the core principle of leave no trace. Take everything back with you, because the next generation deserves to experience these wild places as they are, not as a landfill of forgotten moments. I honestly think it's kind of crazy that a Coke bottle from 1915 was found in Carlsbad Caverns. That is, it's glass, one thing. Second thing, the cave kind of protects what's underground because of, there's no weather patterns down there and things are kind of preserved. So it's surprising, but also not surprising. I'm just surprising it took so long to find, but not surprising that it is still around, just even a Coke bottle. So just a reminder, if you're getting out this weekend or just anytime you get out, take your trash with you. And I always carry a plastic Walmart bag or whatever to pick up trash I find on the trail, because if we don't take care of our earth, it's not going to be beautiful anymore, and it's not going to be how we need it to be for the next generation. All right, now we're going to go over to Grand Teton National Park. Nestled above Lee Lake in Grand Teton National Park rests Mount Woodring, a peak named in 1963 for Samuel Woodring, the park's first superintendent. Recently, the mountain's name has become the subject of scrutiny and controversy because historians uncovered court records from a 1934 revealing that Woodring had been charged with assaulting an 11-year-old girl. Although the charges were dropped, reportedly to avoid further trauma for the victim's family, the allegations marked Woodring's legacy. This truth stayed largely hidden until retired historian Robert Ryder rediscovered it while conducting park research decades later, which prompted further investigation. Now, in response, the Wyoming Board on Geographic Names voted in 2024 to recommend renaming the peak. There are two contenders. Gosh, I cannot talk today. Raven Peak, which is a neutral name rooted in local nature and tradition, or Equality Peak, intended to honor Wyoming's legacy as the first state to extend voting rights to women. One board member called to change overdue, while others noted the aspirational resonance of Equality Peak. Still, some community members and historians favored Raven Peak, arguing it avoids political overtones. A final decision now lies with the U.S. Board on Geographic Names, scheduled to vote in September 2025. The change aims to align public landmarks with evolving values and publicly acceptable histories. Let's head over to Italy. We're going to the Dolomites. A 60-year-old British hiker ignored several warning signs and barriers on the Bertai Via Ferrata in Italy's Dolomites, an area closed due to dangerous rockslide risks. He didn't have proper gear or a way to share his location. So basically, this guy saw signs and barriers and decided it's a great idea for me to hop over these and disregard all of these safety measures. And let's see what happened. As rockfalls menaced him, he called for help from high up, around 2,400 meters, which is nearly 7,900 feet. But thick clouds delayed the rescue. When visibility cleared, rescuers found him stranded in the corner of the landslide zone. The operation brought in 2 helicopters and more than a dozen rescue personnel, resulting in a rescue bill of around $16,400. And in euros, I think that's 14,225. Because the hiker was no longer an EU citizen after Brexit, he wasn't eligible for the reduced EU rescue fee others had received previously around the same time. Rescue teams emphasize that helicopter services are vital for true emergencies, not for misplaced adventures. One official warned that treating rescue resources like a taxi endangers both rescuers and others who truly need help. Summer 2025 had been exceptionally deadly in the Alps, with over 80 hikers dying between June 21st and July 23rd, and rescue calls were up 20% year over year. As a result, more trails have been closed. This story from the Dolomites is a powerful reminder that the mountains demand respect. When we ignore warning signs, bypass closures, or hike without the right gear, we don't just put ourselves in danger, we put rescuers at risk too. Always check trail conditions before you go, carry the essentials, and know your limits. And most importantly, remember that barriers and closures are there for a reason. The best adventure is the one you come home from safely. Now we're going to be in Utah at Fish Lake. In mid-May 2025, a hiker and his dog discovered a lone hiking boot on the shore of Fish Lake in south-central Utah, and inside of that boot was a human foot. Investigators traced the boot's production to 1996 and linked it to a long unsolved disappearance. The remains were recently conclusively identified as those of David White, a fisherman from Washington, Utah, who vanished back in September 1997. Now, he was an avid angler who went fishing alone after plans with friends fell through. His boat was later found drifting and empty, along with a floating shoe and hat nearby, but no other trace surfaced during the initial 5-day search for David. Through DNA testing conducted by Bode Cellmark Forensics, the partial remains were matched to one of David's daughters with a 99.9994% certainty, which is a breakthrough that has now brought some measure of closure to a case that has haunted search and rescue teams for nearly 3 decades. His daughter, Stephanie Bennett, expressed deep gratitude to the investigators, community, and even the dog that led to finding the boot. Sheriff Nathan Curtis echoed that sentiment, thanking everyone involved and acknowledging the relief this identification brings to both the family and to those who once searched for David. Now we're going to go over to Pakistan. In late July 2025, shepherd Omar Khan made an extraordinary discovery near the Melting Lady Meadows Glacier in Pakistan's remote Khuzestan region. Now, what he discovered was a human body, which was remarkably well preserved by ice. Its clothing was still intact, and there was even an ID card in the pocket. The remains were identified as Nasiruddin, a married father of 2 who vanished in 1997 during a snowstorm while traveling with his brother to escape a village feud. Now, his brother did survive, but despite efforts at the time, Nasi Rudin was never found. The glacier's frigid, low humidity, oxygen poor conditions mummified the body naturally. Experts confirm that as glaciers melt, they're increasingly revealing lost individuals, turning these icy landscapes into time capsules. For this man's family, this discovery, painful yet meaningful, offers long sought closure after decades of uncertainty. Okay, next is Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park. In a significant conservation effort, the Oakland Zoo and UC Santa Barbara have successfully reintroduced dozens of endangered yellow-legged frogs into Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park. Once abundant in the Sierra Nevadas alpine habitats, these frogs have faced a dramatic 90% population decline due to chytridiomycosis, which is a deadly disease caused by the chytrid fungus that severely affects amphibians' skins. To combat this, researchers developed an antifungal treatment, essentially a vaccine, to protect tadpoles raised in captivity. Before their release, the frogs were tagged and screened, allowing for future monitoring. This release marks the 1,000th frog returned to the wild by the zoo, which is now expanding its efforts through genetic biobanking and new breeding strategies in collaboration with the National Park Service and the Mountain Lakes Research Group. Yellow-legged frogs play a crucial role in their ecosystem by controlling insect populations and serving as environmental indicators. Their return signifies a hopeful step towards restoring balance in the Sierra Nevada's delicate alpine ecosystems. I don't know. I love this story. I think it's such a great thing to hear about because I think often this news in nature gets overlooked. A lot of times it's all true crime, and I really love true crime. But then there's these little things that are really cool just to know and to appreciate and to have and hold gratitude for. I mean, these frogs, 90% reduction in population, that is insane. And I'm so thankful for the people and scientists that, make these like frog vaccines so that these frogs can get back out there and be environmental indicators and help with bug control, which everybody hates mosquitoes. So I think everybody would love more frogs out in these alpine areas. Going up now to the state of Oregon. This is a story that takes place in Hillsboro. Now, authorities are now investigating a chilling discovery. Human remains retrieved from the Tualatin River. Basically, these remains might be connected to a possible homicide. The first body part emerged mid-evening near Woodbridge Park, which was spotted by a kayaker. This kayaker saw human remains and alerted authorities. 2 days later, search teams located a second body part about a mile downstream, which led investigators to believe both belonged to the same individuals, although official confirmation is still pending. Now, local law enforcement responded swiftly, deploying marine units, dive teams, canine support, and ground search crews from neighboring counties. They suspect the incident occurred recently based on the limited decomposition observed, which has heightened concerns about foul play. While the public isn't considered at immediate risk, detectives are treating the case as a homicide until proven otherwise. And I just have one thing to say. Why is it always Oregon? Why is it always the Pacific Northwest? These things, I feel like this is just another news article for the Pacific Northwest. It's just seems so common. It's so creepy. All right, we're going to a place that I have never been, and you probably haven't either. Antarctica. In early 2025, researchers at the Arktowski Polish Antarctic Station made a haunting discovery on Ecology Glacier: human remains buried deep in the ice. DNA tests recently confirmed that they belong to Dennis Tink Bell, who was a British meteorologist who disappeared in a tragic accident back in 1959 while mapping King George Island. Bell vanished after falling into a hidden crevasse, and despite an overnight search by his team, he was never seen again. Decades have passed since then, 66 years to be exact, and the thawing glacier finally returned him to view. His belongings, preserved by frozen landscape, included artifacts that will help tell the tragic tale of the man lost to the ice. That was our second glacier story this month about someone that was lost and then we found in a glacier. This has been happening more and more and more over the years. I actually covered a bonus episode about this happening in a different country on my Patreon, and this man's family had waited like 20 plus years to figure out what happened to him. So this is not the glacier giving back a body is not uncommon anymore because of global warming. Or at least that's what my opinion is. Now we're going to go into Arizona because we are going to go visit Petrified National Forest Park. A huge discovery happened there when scientists uncovered a brand new reptile species that lived over 220 million years ago during the Triassic period. Now, this creature is a small lizard-like reptile, and it was so tiny that the fossilized vertebrae were no larger than a pinky fingernail. What makes it unique is its spiky projection on its vertebrae, unlike anything seen in related reptile groups, which led the research team that was headed by paleontologist Alaska Schubert to name this thing, I can't even pronounce this, Achidostrophius oligos, which is Greek for tiny spiked backbone. Now, these minute fossils were retrieved from an area called Thunderstorm Ridge, one of several hotbeds of discovery within this park. Next, we are going to my home state of Arkansas. And once you hear this story, I don't think anybody will be surprised that this was happening in Arkansas. Now, this is a follow-up from something that happened in 2020. So in November 2020, hikers reported the discovery of skeletal remains at Pogue Springs in Arkansas's Ozark St. Francis National Forest. The investigation revealed more than just bones. Officials found extensive digging, including multiple holes and evidence of disturbance at what is a known Native American archaeological site. But no excavation permits had been issued, and I don't know why anybody would excavate there at all. Planting deeper scratches than curiosity, this prompted concern and a formal investigation. Now, authorities identified the person responsible as a 43-year-old Whitman woman who admitted to the improper excavation. She confessed to digging about 1.5 feet into the ground in search of Native American artifacts. Shame on her. Among her discoveries was a human skull and a funerary object, a knife believed to be part of a burial ritual. She initially lied, but later revealed that she took the bones home, washed them, and eventually returned them, covering the site with soil and praying over it before notifying the authorities. Doesn't make what you did right. Agents found additional artifacts and bone fragments at her residence and even discovered that she shared images of skeletal remains on social media. All of these actions violated the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, which is a federal law protecting such sites and remains. Now, on August 19th, 2025, she was sentenced to 4 years of probation and ordered to pay $16,135.32 in restitution to restore the damaged archaeological site. Her actions serve as a stark reminder that disturbing sacred resources, even under the guise of exploration, is both illegal and deeply disrespectful. I can only imagine that this was not the first time, obviously, that she had done this, and that she was probably selling these items online. That is terrible. It's awful. And I cannot believe that people would do that. And it happens a lot out west as well with petroglyphs and pictographs and all the indigenous artifacts here. So I don't know. That just really pisses me off, honestly. And our last nature news from August, this one just happened very recently, and I just put it on here because I think it's also a great cautionary tale. Now we're going over to Glacier National Park in Montana. In late August 2025, a 34-year-old woman was hiking near a scenic Lake Janet in Glacier National Park when a medium-sized bear, possibly a brown bear, charged from the underbrush, and it was accompanied by 2 cubs. Now, everybody knows you don't want to mess with a bear that has cubs. And obviously, this woman was just hiking. She probably wasn't antagonizing it, but mama bears are fierce. The attack was swift and violent, injuring her shoulder and arm. Yet the outcome turned on a single moment. Her hiking partner unleashed a blast of bear spray, sending the bear fleeing in less than 30 seconds. The injured hiker and her group made it to a nearby wilderness campground within 30 minutes and used a satellite phone to call for help. She was airlifted to a hospital in Kalispell, Montana, and is listed in stable condition. As we all know, it is very important to carry bear spray, ideally in an accessible location like a chest harness, and knowing how to deploy it swiftly. If you've never used bear spray, I am not going to give you advice. I'm just going to say you need to know how to use it. When I hike in bear country, mine is uncapped, my finger's on the trigger, and I'm ready because you really don't know when a bear is going to come out of the forest and charge you because she has 2 cubs with her. Now, this bear was defensive because she was protecting her cubs, so she will not be removed or euthanized because she was just being a mama bear, and surrounding campgrounds remained closed temporarily just until this kind of, all the silt kind of settles. It is also important to have a personal locator beacon because can you imagine your hiking partner got attacked by a bear, you use bear spray, you probably got some in your eyes. I mean, that crap freaking burns. And you make it to a campground, but no one has a satellite phone, and you're shit out of luck. And in most of these places, there is no cell service. Never, ever, ever rely on a cell phone while you're in the wilderness. Always have a personal locator beacon. So this attack could have gone way, way worse. This hiker could have died, but because the actions of her hiking partner and them being prepared, she was able to get out and get help. That wraps up this month's nature news for August 2025. The stories we cover remind us how connected we are to the landscapes around us, whether it's protecting fragile ecosystems, respecting sacred sites, or learning lessons from the risks of exploration. The outdoors offer both wonder and responsibility, and it's up to all of us to care for these places so future generations can experience them too. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the headlines of the wild. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep exploring responsibly. As always, recreate responsibly, and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.